History is often written by the victors, but occasionally it is defined by those who refuse to be defeated. Imagine a king. Not a king born to rule in peace, but a king born into a crucible of holy war, surrounded by empires that wished to see his kingdom wiped from the face of the earth. Now, imagine this king is a child. And worse still, imagine this child is cursed with the most feared, incurable, and devastating disease of the medieval world. This is not a myth. This is the true story of Baldwin IV, the Leper King of Jerusalem, a monarch who ruled from a litter, who commanded armies while his body rotted away, and who stood as an unyielding wall of iron between the Crusader states and the greatest military genius of the age, Sultan Saladin. For 11 agonizing years, Baldwin carried the weight of the Holy Land on shoulders that were literally crumbling. He was a boy who became a king who became a prisoner of his own flesh, and a prisoner who became a legend. In a world that equated physical perfection with divine favor, Baldwin proved that the strength of a kingdom does not reside in the body of its ruler, but in the unbreakable resolve of his spirit. Let us step back into the scorching sands of the 12th century, to a Jerusalem balanced on the edge of a knife. Chapter 1. The Numbness of Fate. The year is 1161. A prince is born into the royal house of Anjou, destined for a life of privilege and power. Young Baldwin is a bright, handsome, and fiercely intelligent boy. He is placed under the tutelage of William of Tyre, one of the greatest scholars and historians of the era. It is here, in the sunlit courtyards of the royal palace, that the first shadow falls across the young prince's life. William of Tyre writes of a chilling day when the boys of the court were playing a game. They were pinching each other's arms, seeing who could withstand the pain without crying out. Young Baldwin did not flinch. He did not cry out. In fact, he smiled. When his tutor investigated, a horrifying truth was revealed. Half of the boy's right arm was completely numb. He felt no pain, no pressure, nothing. In the medieval world, this absence of sensation was a death sentence. It was the undeniable first symptom of leprosy. To understand the gravity of this diagnosis, you must understand the 12th century. Leprosy was not just a medical condition. It was viewed as a divine punishment, a living purgatory. Lepers were cast out, forced to wear bells to warn the healthy, declared legally dead, and left to rot in isolation. But Baldwin was not a commoner. He was the heir to the kingdom of Jerusalem. The diagnosis was kept a closely guarded secret, a dark cloud hanging over the palace. Yet, the boy did not despair. Knowing his time was limited, he threw himself into his studies. He learned the arts of statecraft, history, and most importantly, the art of war. He learned to ride a horse using only his knees, compensating for the failing strength in his hands. He was preparing for a destiny he knew would be brutal and brief. Chapter 2. The Boy King and the Gathering Storm. In 1174, King Amalric dies of dysentery. Baldwin is only 13 years old. Against all the prejudices of the age, the High Court of Jerusalem crowns him King Baldwin IV. The boy with the rotting arm is now the sovereign of the holiest, most violently contested city on earth. The kingdom he inherits is highly unstable. It is a fragile strip of land held together by castles and the sheer willpower of the Crusader knights. Internally, the court is a viper's nest of ambitious nobles, scheming for power, knowing that their king will die young and leave no heir. Men like Raymond of Tripoli, Guy of Lusignan, and the reckless Reynold of Chatillon constantly maneuver for influence. Externally, a far greater threat is rising from the desert sands. Saladin, the brilliant and charismatic Sultan of Egypt and Syria, has united the Muslim world. His singular, driving goal is the reconquest of Jerusalem. Saladin looks upon the Crusader kingdom and sees a realm ruled by a crippled child. He senses weakness. He smells blood. The wolves are circling the young king, both inside his court and beyond his borders. But what Saladin and the scheming nobles fail to realize is that the disease ravaging Baldwin's body has forged an intellect and a willpower of terrifying sharpness. The boy king is no victim. He is a predator waiting in the reeds. Chapter 3. The Miracle of Montgisard. The defining moment of Baldwin's reign arrives in the autumn of 1177. Baldwin is just 16 years old. His leprosy has progressed, visibly marking him. Yet, when news reaches Jerusalem that Saladin has crossed the border with a massive invasion force, Baldwin does not hesitate. Saladin brings an army of staggering proportions, estimated between 20 to 26,000 men, including his elite Mamluk guard. His forces spread out, pillaging the countryside, marching steadily toward a defenseless Jerusalem. Baldwin, in a desperate bid to save his city, rides out to intercept them. He is accompanied by a pitifully small force, a few hundred Templar knights and perhaps 3,000 to 4,000 infantrymen. They are vastly outnumbered, outflanked, and facing certain annihilation. The two armies meet near the hill of Montgisard. When the Crusaders see the endless sea of Saladin's banners, despair washes over them. It is a suicide mission. But it is here that Baldwin IV etches his name into the annals of history. Struggling with the ravages of his disease, the teenage king dismounts his horse. He calls for the Bishop of Bethlehem, who is carrying a relic believed to be a fragment of the true cross. Before the eyes of his terrified men, the Leper King falls to his knees in the blood-red sand. He buries his face in the dirt, weeping and praying to God for victory, or for a swift death in battle. When Baldwin rises, the air has shifted. The sight of their king, broken in body but possessed by an absolute divine fire, ignites something primal within the Crusader ranks. Baldwin is strapped back onto his horse. He draws his sword with his remaining good hand. He orders the charge. The Crusader heavy cavalry crashes into Saladin's vanguard with the force of a thunderbolt. Saladin, caught completely off guard by the sheer audacity and ferocity of the attack, watches in horror as his massive army is fractured, panicked, and slaughtered. The Leper King fights in the thickest of the melee, his bandages wrapped tight, his sword falling like judgment itself. It is a massacre. Saladin's army is utterly destroyed. The great Sultan himself barely escapes with his life, fleeing back to Egypt on a racing camel, his legendary Mamluks dead in the dirt. At 16, a boy dying of leprosy had brought the most powerful man in the Middle East to his knees. Chapter 4. The Rotting Body, the Iron Will. The victory at Montgisard buys Jerusalem precious time, but it cannot stop the relentless march of the king's disease. The years that follow are a testament to unimaginable human endurance. Leprosy is a thief. It steals Baldwin's fingers, making it impossible to hold a sword or a pen. It steals his toes, making it impossible to walk. It attacks his face, disfiguring his features. Eventually, the disease attacks his optic nerves, plunging the young king into total darkness. He is blind, crippled, and in constant, agonizing pain. He must be carried everywhere on a wooden litter. In any other kingdom, a monarch in this condition would be deposed, hidden away, or quietly murdered. But Baldwin refuses to yield the crown. He governs from his litter. When his generals argue, he commands them with a voice that, though rasping, brooks no disobedience. When intelligence arrives of Saladin's troop movements, the blind king dictates complex military strategies from his bed. He brokers treaties, manages the chaotic factions of his court, and oversees the construction of vital border fortresses like Jacob's Ford. He knows he is a dying man leading a dying kingdom. The internal politics become vicious. His sister Sibylla marries the handsome but incompetent Guy of Lusignan. Baldwin, realizing Guy is unfit to rule or face Saladin, tries desperately to arrange a stronger succession, eventually crowning his young nephew as co-ruler. The physical pain is matched only by the psychological torment of watching greedy men tear at the edges of the kingdom. He is sacrificing his literal flesh to protect. Yet, whenever Saladin tests the borders, he finds the Crusader armies waiting for him, expertly positioned, completely disciplined. Saladin soon realizes the terrifying truth. The mind inside that rotting blind body is as sharp and dangerous as ever. Saladin comes to hold a deep, profound respect for the Leper King. He famously states that as long as the boy lives, Jerusalem will never fall. Chapter 5. The Final Stand at Kerak. The ultimate proof of Baldwin's indomitable spirit occurs in 1183. The reckless Crusader lord, Reynald of Chatillon, has endlessly provoked Saladin by attacking Muslim caravans. In retaliation, Saladin marches a massive army to lay siege to Reynald's impenetrable fortress, the castle of Kerak. Inside Kerak, a royal wedding is taking place between Princess Isabella and Humphrey of Turan. Saladin's trebuchets rain boulders against the castle walls. The situation is desperate. The fortress is on the verge of starvation and collapse. In Jerusalem, word reaches the dying king. Baldwin is 22 years old. He is completely blind. His limbs are heavily bandaged stumps. He is gripped by violent fevers, but he is the king of Jerusalem. Baldwin orders his commanders to assemble the army. He refuses to stay behind. The king is strapped onto a litter, carried between two horses, and the royal army marches out. The journey across the harsh, unforgiving desert terrain is pure torture for a man in his condition. Every bump, every jolt of the litter sends waves of agony through his shattered body. Yet, he pushes his army forward, moving with terrifying speed. When Saladin's scouts report that the Crusader army is approaching, the Sultan asks who is leading them. When he is told that the banner of the true cross is flying, and beneath it a blind leper is being carried on a litter, Saladin makes a decision that shocks his commanders. He orders his massive army to break the siege. He orders the retreat. Saladin does not retreat out of fear of the Crusader numbers. He still has the advantage. He retreats out of tactical prudence and perhaps a deep-seated respect. He knows that to fight the Crusaders while they are commanded by the sheer suicidal willpower of King Baldwin is to invite a bloodbath. He refuses to face the Leper King in battle again. Baldwin is carried to the gates of Kerak, triumphant without drawing a single sword. It is a victory won entirely by the terrifying weight of his reputation. But willpower, no matter how immense, cannot indefinitely delay death. By the spring of 1185, the disease has finally consumed him. Baldwin IV dies at the age of 24. He had ruled the kingdom of Jerusalem for 11 impossible years. His death sends a shockwave of grief through the Crusader states. They did not just lose a king. They lost the only man capable of holding the fragile kingdom together. With Baldwin gone, The factionalism he fought so hard to suppress explodes. Guy of Lusignan seizes power, bringing arrogance and stupidity to the throne. Just 2 years after Baldwin's death, Guy leads the Crusader army into a disastrous, thirsty trap at the Horns of Hattin. Saladin slaughters the Crusader forces, captures the True Cross, and shortly thereafter, the gates of Jerusalem are thrown open to the Sultan. The city falls. The immediate collapse of the kingdom following Baldwin's death is the greatest testament to his reign. It proves that it was not the walls, nor the knights, nor the wealth of Jerusalem that held Saladin at bay. It was the mind and the spirit of a diseased boy. King Baldwin IV remains one of history's most profound paradoxes. He was the weakest man in his kingdom, housed in a body that was little more than a living corpse. Yet, he was the strongest king Jerusalem ever knew. He teaches us a timeless truth, that true power does not lie in the perfection of the flesh, but in the refusal to surrender to one's fate. He was the Leper King. He was the shield of Jerusalem, and his legacy will outlast the stone walls he fought so desperately to protect.